What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video today I want to address, I guess, what you could call some hopium, specifically around the reactor changes which have been proposed by the developer and which are going live with the October 10th patch alongside, Ultimate Freyna, the new boss, and all of the other things. My reason for making this video is twofold. First of all, I want to give my 2 cents on it, exactly what I think is going to happen with that change and how it's going to work. And secondly, hopefully I can save someone at least some disappointment that might be thinking this is going to work in a way which it probably won't. This might sound cryptic, but let me go back to the start and you'll understand a little bit better. So obviously, first things first, I'm the Full Measure and I make content for the First Descendant, and one of the kinds of videos that I make is reactor hunt videos where weekly the reactors change on Tuesdays and new areas have new reactor types that can drop on them with different mountings and so on. I tell people where they should go farm these reactors if they're looking for a potential chance at a really good reactor. Now, something interesting that happened this week is that I had a lot of people coming onto my reactor video and saying, yo man, there's a really good Freyna farm this week. Why didn't you feature it in your farm? And this is the reason why I wanted to address this, because it seems like there might be a misconception as to exactly how these reactor changes are going to work, and that is what's making this farm seem a lot better than it is. Now, I also want to mention one thing before we dive into the actual reactor notes from the dev note. I don't have any insider information. All I'm doing is I'm applying some logic to basically what we're reading here, and I'm also bearing in mind the fact that there are some systems in the game where if the proposed change that some of the community thinks is going to happens, it's actually going to adversely affect the lifespan of the game to the detriment of the developer, and we have to kind of like imagine that they potentially won't want to do that because it's obviously affecting the longevity of the game and people playing it. But again, like I said, this is also just an opinion, right? This is my opinion. I don't know any better. There's no evidence to prove that I'm right versus other people being right. But, you kind of have to read between the lines. But let's look at the patch notes quickly. So specifically the patch notes, or rather the dev note that details this, is dev note 14. They make one of these every couple of weeks. They've made 14 of them, and this one is specifically for the October 10th update. So it's got a lot of detail in on Ultimate Freyna and the boss and some of the Transcendent mods and stuff like that. It's a good read. I'll put it in the description of the video for you to check out if you want. But the section that we are interested in is all the way at the bottom, and it's specifically about the reactors. Now I'm going to read this to you because this is a situation where it is being translated from Korean to English, and I don't want to add any nuance onto it or fucking change the words or anything like that to put my spin on it. So let's just read the words and then see what it says. So this says, we also want to address the issue of reactor farming to reduce the inconvenience of having to farm a new ultimate reactor every time you switch to a new weapon. We're introducing the reactor implant system. This system will allow you to implant the weapon optimization conditions of other ultimate reactors to your current ultimate reactor. An ultimate reactor can have up to 3 weapon optimization conditions, and you can freely implant weapon optimization conditions based on your weapon settings. With this, you'll no longer have to farm a new reactor each time you switch your weapons, as you only need to implant a new weapon optimization condition into the reactor you're currently using. Okay. So it is very important to understand, obviously, the way that they said it here, and they made no mention at all regarding the bullet type of the reactor. They only mentioned the actual mounting of the weapons on that. Now, why is this important? If we check the farm that people are saying is really good this week, and by the way, it is really good. It's a fantastic farm for Freyna, for exactly her reactor type. It's probably the best one we've ever had in terms of like the amount of drops that you can get from it, and just also weapon XP, character XP, Kuiper, and gold. But basically the farm that I'm referring to is, we have to of course say toxic, and we have to choose tech. That is her best in slot reactor. And we've got this area over here called Rockfall. Now, Rockfall is in Sterile Land, and this mission right here, Anticipated Ambush Point, is ridiculously good. It's a mission that should be familiar to people. It's one of the early ones which was done for just character XP and weapon proficiency, and because you can complete it so fast with a decent bunny or like fucking Kingsguard Lance or whatever, you can rack up an insane amount of reactors per hour. It's a really good farm. But if we go back here, we'll notice that the weapon mounting is high power rounds. So that means shotguns, rocket launchers, sniper rifles, piercing light, things like that. That is, of course, not optimal. That is not what you want on Freyna. You want one of her preferred weapons like Python or, you know, fucking Enduring Legacy you could use on her Secret Garden, anything like that. Pretty much anything is better than a sniper rifle, a shotgun, or a rocket launcher. But looking at the patch notes and what people are thinking this means, and where I think we might be probably wrong, is that they're assuming that we'll be able to mount multiple weapon bullet types onto one reactor. Meaning, in the ideal, super sexy, awesome world, you'd be able to take an ultimate reactor like this, and I could put like Enduring Legacy on there, which is a general rounds gun. Then I could put something like Secret Garden on there, which of course is a special rounds gun. And then because I am, you know, a fucking psychopath, I also decide to just put like impact rounds on there, so I can also get Nazay stress on there. So that means I have 3 different bullet types on there, and that would really be considered like an insane reactor for Freyna, because then of course it's like toxic, it's tech, it has like, let's say, good substats on it, like Colossus damage and whatever, and then you've got like these 3 weapons on there. The issue that I have with this, and where I think we might be wrong, is that this kills the entire reactor farm game completely. And it would mean that people would be able to get best in slot reactors with like an insane amount of ease. Now, it's not just like within a minute or 2 or something like that, but to give you an idea here, I've been playing this game for close to 1,100 hours now, and I am still looking for really good reactors for some of my descendants. Some I've been lucky and I've found some, but for some I'm still looking, and even then there's always like marginal improvements that you can make. If you create the situation where ultimate reactors, you can mix bullet types, it also will pretty much take away from the lifespan of the game. Now, I know people don't want to hear this. They don't want to, because the reality is it is a suck part of the game for some. It's probably the thing that people complain about maybe the second most on all of my videos, is the fact that getting a decent reactor is such a fucking schlep. I get it. But the point is that at the moment right now, while this game has a problem with content and has a problem with people walking away saying, I've got nothing to do, I've farmed all the descendants I want, I farmed everything, one of the only carrots that is left hanging is finding a decent reactor. And this will essentially make it so that you can pretty much do that and you'll be one and done like pretty much forever. All right. This flies in the face of what this game I think is trying to do, and the idea here being that every, you know, season or something like that, there's new shit for you to come back and do, and that you always have this carrot dangling at the end there that you could find a decent reactor. What I think the reactor change means, and bear in mind ultimate reactors were mentioned, so the first thing I thought was, oh shit, maybe, you know, they mean that we can put on multiple class types onto purple reactors, but they're not going to let us do this with ultimate reactors. But if we look at the notes themselves, they actually mention ultimate reactor by name, so first one done there. All right. But the thing is, how I think this is going to work is it's actually going to allow you to mount multiple weapons, but only within the same weapon bullet class. Again, you guys are going to be pissed that I said that. And I want to be very clear. I don't have any information that anybody else does. But the point is, if they do that, it's enough of a change that it would make it okay for certain people, because you could have a reactor with Python on and Enduring Legacy on, because both of those are general rounds, for example, but it wouldn't completely kill the reactor farm game. Now, before I end off the video, I want to be very, very clear here about one thing. I am not proposing the second thing there, meaning that they don't allow us to have multiple weapon, or rather bullet types on a reactor. I think that would be fucking insane, and I have about 160 farmed reactors that I could sit and I could build a perfect reactor for each one of my descendants, and I could probably be done after a weekend, and I'd never have to farm reactors again. And as a content creator, I think that's fucking great, because it means that I'll have a perfect reactor for each one of my descendants, and I can just start churning out fucking, this is build video this, and this is this, and this is that, and so on. So I'm all for it because it'll just make farming reactors that much easier. But what it is going to do is it's going to already, a game that is suffering from a player base which is starting to walk away and saying that they don't have anything to do. This will just be a further nail in the coffin. We've seen the knock-on effect of this in this game already by things like changing the outpost timer down. That is something that in their own cycle they didn't anticipate the effect that this would have. So by doing this, they allowed people to accumulate those pieces quicker, and by people accumulating those pieces quicker, their power rose quicker as well because they got weapons and things like that quicker. And as a community, the community advanced faster in the game than what the developer thought they would. They've said this in multiple fucking interviews, so this isn't my words or anything like that. They've admitted this. So yes, that's basically the video. I know I jumped around a lot. Please feel free to comment and let me know if you think I'm, fucking wrong and you think it's definitely going to be, multiple bullet types on one reactor. Again, like I said, the way that it's written, it is ambiguous as shit. It could mean that. It could also mean what I said. I just tend to think that it's going to be the one which doesn't necessarily crush the reactor farm game, but leaves some of it still open because you'll still want a decent reactor in each one of the bullet types. But again, like I said, don't have any additional information that anybody else does. The update is super close now, so we don't have to wait too long to find out. There was a new trailer that was released today that highlighted some of the things, and I was fucking hoping that this trailer would actually have just a little snippet on the reactors or something like that, and we could see them do it and like basically do a mounting or something like that and say, oh shit, 2 bullet types on the same reactor, fucking woohoo. It didn't happen. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to wait until the 10th of October. So let's hold on. Let's wait and see. Maybe something gets released beforehand. Maybe they mention something on Twitter. I've actually reached out to them and asked this question. Obviously no spoilers, anything like that. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, especially if you made it this far. Super important to me that you have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Till next video, fucking cheers.